me a dinar zav. Reuven claims, "Ein lecha biyadei ela dinar kasef." Reuven says, "No, I don't owe you a dinar zav. I only owe you a dinar kasef." Utrisis upundion upruta chayiv shakol min matbea achasin. So we'll say, so remember again, this case in the Mishnah, which was the latter part of the Mishnah, where I claim against Reuven, you owe me a dinar zav. Reuven says, I don't owe you a dinar zav, but rather I owe you a dinar kasef. So the Mishnah says, ultimately, again, this is considered to be a real kfira. Reuven is chayiv to take a shvuah. Why? Because at the end of the day, although I'm claiming gold and he's admitting to silver, but since again we're talking the same language of currency, therefore again I've also said this is considered to be a case of moda b'miktzas. So iyamrit b'shlama shava mishum hachi chayiv. So say if you understand that at the end of the day, because ultimately my claim is for a value, and Reuven is admitting part of the value, then it makes sense. So the Gemara says, Elai amrit dafka. But if at the end of the day, if we interpret the claim for a dinar zav as dafka a dinar zav, then am I chayiv. Then ultimately, again, why should this be considered a case of moda b'miktzas? Rabbi Lazar, what's the case over here? Bishatano bedinar mi matbeos, or I should say bishatano bedinar matbeos or matbas mitbos. But also the case over here is where dafka ultimately, again, I am claiming Reuven dafka a gold coin. So we'll say dinar matbas means over here I'm not just claiming from a value, but rather I explicitly articulate the fact that I'm claiming from specifically a gold coin. Look at Rashi, second line from the top. Rashi dinar matbaos. Tivua b'matbea tsura. So both I literally say to him, Reuven, I'm not claiming for you the value, but rather I'm dafka claiming against you a coin, a dinar matbas. Literally, the literal translation is a minted coin, an actual coined coin. I don't know if that makes sense. A coined coin. Or as well as remember when the Gemara talks about, just take a step back, when the Gemara talks about claiming currency, there are two ways that you could look at that claim. You could look at it as a value claim, or you could look at it as actually a claim for the type of currency. The Gemara is suggesting over here, about side, that the case that we're dealing with now is I'm claiming against Reuven a minted dinar zav. He is admitting that he owes me a minted dinar kasef. So therefore that's called moda b'miktzas. Why? Why? Because we're talking the same language. We're talking the language of currency. So to which the Gemara says, I'm sorry, and therefore we'll say that the message of the Mishnah ultimately is that a pruta is bichla matbe'er. As well say that once we're talking about matbe'er, so once we're talking about minted coins, so even though I'm claiming against Reuven a much higher denomination coin, and he's only admitting what? A smaller denomination coin, but that's still called moda b'miktzas. Why? Because we're speaking the same language of minted currency. Good. So we'll say, so by the way, this is an important yisod. The important yisod is that really what the Gemara is highlighting over here is that in order to be called a moda b'miktzas, one has to be speaking the same language as the claim. Now what the Gemara is now teaching me is, as long as we're all speaking currency, even if I'm claiming a large denomination of currency, and Reuven is only admitting a smaller denomination of currency, that is called moda b'miktzas. Dekanami diktani shakol min matbea achas. Well, so you can see this in the Mishnah, because the Mishnah said ultimately again it's all called min matbea achas. It's all called one type of coinage, even though I'm claiming a higher denomination. He's only admitting to a smaller denomination. We are speaking the same language of minted currency. The Rav shakol din matbea achas, and Rabbi said Rav would have to interpret this as saying that it all has the din of the same matbea. Look at Rashi. Rashi is the second short line, the second of the narrow lines. V'Rav devoy l'meimer shavek katani. Rav, who says that we're speaking about values, he would have to say achim mefarish sefer to come shakol min matbea achadu. Rav will say, who understands we're talking about shaveh, would say that ultimately, again, all of the coins mentioned in the Mishnah all have the same basic, or all within the same framework of proper valuation for denial of a claim. Rabbi Lazar will say, Lema, mi de seifa kishmuel. Excuse me, Rabbi Elazar, Lema, mi de seifa kishmuel metaris. Since Rabbi Elazar interprets the seifa of the Mishnah like Shmuel, Reishanami kishmuel severely, he must hold like Shmuel in the first part of the Mishnah as well. To which the Gemara says, Lo, seifa dafka katani. Not necessarily, but rather again it's dafka the seifa. Shakol min matbea achos. We'll say, so again, the seifa, as we just interpreted, is dafka, as we just mentioned before, akol din matbea achos, v'reisha kiravo kishmuel. Rabbi Lazar's model, the reisha could be interpreted either as Rav or as Shmuel. Tashma. Dinar zahav zohuv li biyadecha. Shabbos say, this is an interesting verbiage. Dinar zahav zohuv, which Shabbos say means a minted gold coin. A minted gold coin. So a minted gold coin, so I go to Reuven and I say, Reuven, you owe me a minted gold coin. Shabbos say, so again, understand, a minted gold coin in this context means that Lemaisa, again, it's a properly minted coin. In other words, I could go ahead and I could use an official coin, right? Thank you, right? An official minted gold coin. So I go to Reuven and I say, you owe me an official minted gold coin. And Reuven says, Ein lecha biyadi ela dinar kasef. And Reuven says, no, I only owe you a silver dinar. So I'm claiming against him a minted gold dinar. He says that he only owes me a silver dinar. Chayiv. Well, says the Gemara says, this is called the Mod Mikzas. Says the Gemara, Taima da Amrle Zahav Zov. Now the reason that's true is why? Because my claim, Rabbi say, is for an official coin. Since my claim is for an official coin, albeit a gold one, and Reuven admits that he owes me what? That he owes me what? A silver one. That's called Mod Mikzas. I'm claiming gold, he's admitting silver. Why is that called Mod Mikzas, Rabbi say? Why? Currency. Because we're speaking the same language of minted currency. Taima da Amrle Zahav Zohuv. The reason, ultimately, this is called the Mod Mikzas is because my claim is for a minted coin. Hastama Shava Kamarli. But Rabbi would appear that had I not said Zahav Zahov, then what? Then Lemaisa again. The Hastama Shava Kamar. There was a Hastam without this statement, ultimately again would be a case of Shava. Would be a case ultimately again of just plain valuation. Or plain value or amounts. So the Gemara says, Amar Ravashi, Hachi Kamar, this is what it means to say, Kala Omer Dinar Zahav, Ka Omer Dinar Zahav Zahov Dami. So Ravashi comes along and says, no, what it means to say is the following. Whenever you claim a dinar zahav, Rabbi, that is the equivalent of saying what? Zahav Zahov. Rabbi, in other words, Ravashi is saying is, when I go ahead and I place a claim for a coin, the default is that what? What am I claiming? I'm claiming currency. I'm not just simply claiming value, but I'm claiming minted currency. So this is actually very important. So what this means, Ravashi is telling me, the default of any currency claim is actual currency, not just simply shava, not just value. Therefore, I will say, if I claim a dinar zav, Ravashi says that's the equivalent of saying a minted dinar zav, which then means that if Reuven says, I only owe you a silver dinar, that's called Mod Mikzas, since we're talking the same language of currency. Tani Rabbi Chiel is Yel Rav. So Rabbi Chiel also wanted to bring a proof to Rav. So Sela li biadecha. So I say to Rav, I say to Reuven, you owe me a sela, right? You have a sela of mine is in your hand, and Reuven says to me, Ein lecha biadi ela sela chaser beis kesef. And what does Reuven claim about? Reuven says, I only owe you, right? So I say to Reuven, you owe me a sela. Reuven says, no, I only owe you a sela less 2 kesef. 2 minus 2 kesef. So the Gemara says chayiv. So what do you see? So the Rabbi says you're chayiv. Chaser ma potter. But if he claims that he ultimately owes me a sela less a ma, then he'll be potter. So we'll say, why is this a proof to Rav? If you look at Rashi says over alma kfiras shtei kesef bayina. Because we'll say, remember again, Rav is of the opinion, we saw this in Lama Testament days, that in order for a denial to ultimately trigger a modib mikzas shvua, the denial has to be for 2 kesef. So in this case, the Brisa clearly supports Rav's contention, or Rav's position, namely that the denial must be for shtei kesef. Amrav Nachman Yitzchak. So Nachman Yitzchak said the following: Amar Shmuel, Lo shanu ella betainas milveh v'hoda'as loveh. We only learn this. We'll say where in the case of tainas milveh v'hoda'as loveh. So we'll listen to this. What the Gemara is saying over here is as follows: our whole machlokas in Rav and Shmuel about the nature or the amount of the denial in order to trigger a moda b'mikzas shvua is only in a case where there is a dispute between the lender and the borrower. Aval, tainas malve v'hadas eid. But I will say, when let's say the lender makes a claim and there is an eid echad, there is one witness who supports the position of the lender, then afilu lo tanu ela bepruta chayiv. Then I will say in that case, even if the claim is only for a pruta, ultimately it will still trigger a shuz. We'll see here this. So the Gemara is suggesting over here as follows. Rav Nachman Yitzchak is saying the machlokes Rav and Shmuel as to what amount of monetary denial triggers a modib mikzas shvua is only in a case where you have a machlokus between the malva and the lova, the lender and the borrower. But when the malva makes a claim, and that claim is supported ultimately by an aid echad, that will trigger a shvua, no matter what the amount of the claim. Where do we know this from? My taima, dichsiv lo yakum aid echad biish l'chol avon u l'chol chatas. Because we'll say the pasuk says, an aid echad will not stand against another person, l'chol avon u l'chol chatas. L'chol avon u l'chol chatas hu deino kam. So we'll say ultimately again, he can't make him chayiv for an avon, an aveira, or a chatas, or a karban, aval kamu l'shvua. But we'll say, what does an eid echad do? An eid echad can make you chayiv v'shos. So we'll say, what the Gemara now is saying is as follows. When there is an eid echad, the presence of an eid echad fundamentally and dramatically alters the shvua landscape. That as soon as there is an eid echad who goes ahead and backs up the claim of the malva, whatever the claim of the malva is, now obviously we'll say, you can't have a claim that's pachos mishav pruta, right? The claim that's less than a pruta ultimately again is not a legally recognized claim, but as long as it is more than a pruta, the presence of the eid echad has the ability to trigger a shvua. V'tanya, and we learn kol makom shishnayim mechayivin osamamon, any place where two witnesses would be mechayiv the defendant mammon, eid echad mechayiv shvua. Ultimately again an eid echad will be mechayiv you a shvua. So we'll say, now we go weiter. Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Shmuel, Ta'anu chitin u'sa'orin v'holdin lo be'echamem. So we'll say, so Rav Nachman says another statement in Mishul. So remember again, we're still in the midst of the machlokes in Rav and Shmuel about how much, what's the amount of the denial which goes ahead and triggers a mod b'miktzas shvua. Now the Gemara brings in another statement of Shmuel. What's this other statement? Well, so listen to this. Ta'ano chitin u'sa'orim. I go and I claim against Ruvain, chitin and sa'or. Ruvain, you owe me chita and sa'ar. You owe me both wheat and barley. V'hodelo be'echad mehen. And Ruvain admits one of them. He admits one of them. But I will say, Pashto, so that means is he denies the other one. What's the halacha? Chayiv. Ultimately, again, he will be chayiv a shvua mod b'miktzah. So we'll say Shmuel's position is that if I claim two things against Reuven and he admits to one of them, denying the other one, ultimately again that's called a shvuas mod b'mitzas, and Reuven will be chayav a shvua. Amar lo Rabbi Yitzchak Yasher. Rabbi Yitzchak says shkoyach. I agree. V'chein amar Rabbi Yochanan. So Rabbi Yochanan also said shkoyach. I agree with that as well. This is fascinating. This is actually riveting. Michlal the polygalei Reish Lakish. Now we'll say, now watch this. So you had Rav Nachman says this statement in the name of Shmuel, that if I claim chitin and sa'orin, and Reuven admits to chitin, but Bepashtos denies this sa'orin, that's called the mod b'miktzas and has to take a shvua. So we'll say, now Rabbi Yitzchak says shkoyach. Rabbi Yochanan says shkoyach. Now we'll say, wherever we have Rabbi Yochanan, usually we have Reish Lakish as well. Yet what do we see over here? That Reish Lakish is silent. Reish Lakish doesn't say anything. Michlal the polig ali Reish Lakish. They're both saying that the fact that Reish Lakish also does not voice his support for this position seems to tell us that what? That he argues. They're both saying, I watch this. This is amazing. Se'igad da'amri misha v'shayle v'shasikli. So we'll say. So some say he didn't argue, but rather Reish Lakish had a very interesting practice. We'll say, what was his practice? Take a look at the last short line in Rashi. Igad da'amri misha v'shayle v'shasikli. Kach hayadak osho Reish Lakish. K'shay Rabbi Yochanan omer davar b'beis hamedrash. Hayashohem ilahashiv ad shigma Rabbi Yochanan kol tzarcho v'chol tam devarav v'achar kach hayacholik alav u'besoch kach yatz Rabbi Yitzchak zeh b'beis hamedrash v'lo shamem nechlak alav. So we'll say Reish Lakish had an interesting practice. We'll say very rarely practiced behavior, which is what? He was actually quiet. Oh, thank you. Right? He was actually he actually was quiet until Rabbi Yochanan finished talking. He actually allowed Rabbi Yochanan to finish his sentence before interjecting. So we'll say, so what happens over here? So apparently, Rabbi Yitzchak left the base medrash. So what happens? So Rav Nachman says, the halacha like Shmuel, Rabbi Yitzchak says shkoyach, Rabbi Yochanan says shkoyach, and then what happens? So Rabbi Yitzchak left the base medrash before Rabbi Yochanan finished talking. So the shaila is, he never saw, did Reish Lakish agree or not agree? We'll say, by the way, it's an incredible, first just an incredible yisod, that Reish Lakish, first of all, it's just the din in derech eretz. Right, it's din in derech eretz to allow someone to finish their thought before you go ahead and you interject. We'll say there's another reason why this is very important, which tells you guys of Reish Lakish. And I will say, we know that if somebody's talking and you're going ahead and ready to speak. We know the moment that you're ready to respond, what happens? You're no longer listening. You're no longer listening. Shavuos say, by the way, klal gadol in conversations. You're having a conversation with someone. You never have a conversation, and as you're talking, like they're like, or like moving their lips. Klal gadol, right before they don't say anything, but you can tell they want to talk. Klal gadol is, if somebody's already ready to talk, you might as well stop talking. Because at that point in time, they have already stopped listening. So the Gemara just says, we don't know where Rish Lakish holds, but what we know is Rish Lakish just wouldn't talk until Rabbi Yochanan finished. So therefore the Gemara says, or other possibilities, Ikad Amri, right? Ikad Amri, Misha Havishale, this, Ikad Amri, Mishta Havishasile, Vishasikle. What's the other possibility is, Rish Lakish was drinking a glass of water. Rashi says, Mishta Havishasile, Rish Lakish, Maiba Midrasha, Kiam Rabbi Yochanan La Milsa. Rish Lakish was drinking. As talented as Rish Lakish is, he can't argue and drink at the same time. So the Mike says he's drinking a cup of water, so he was quiet. He was quiet. And therefore, again, it wasn't this. First of all, there's another number of incredible lessons. Number one, I will say, let people finish their thought before you interject. That's lesson number one. Lesson number two, I will say, is here's something so amazing. Rish Lakish is silent. So the Gemara says, well, we should interpret his silence as arguing with Yochanan. To which the Gemara says, no, you shouldn't. Sometimes guys just having a glass of water, right? Sometimes he just not because it's also an incredible yisod how so often in life we assume that we can interpret people's actions in a certain way. Like, I know what you meant. You don't know what I mean, right? If you want to know what I mean, ask me what I mean. Don't assume to understand what I mean and to interpret my actions based on the way you understand my actions. Paul says sometimes you have to ask people what they mean instead of making assumptions as to what their particular positions are. So the Gemara wants to interpret Rish Lakish's silence as an argument to Rabbi Yochanan. Maybe not. Maybe he's just saying for Rabbi Yochanan to finish his statement. Maybe he's just having a drink of water. So the Gemara goes weiter. The Gemara says, so Rabbi say that this supports the following position of Shmuel. Rabbi say, but the one thing we do know is that Shmuel holds that in a case where I claim against Reuven Chitin and Sorin, and Reuven admits the Chitin but denies the Sorin, that's called Modeh B'Mikzas. Tanu Chitin v'Agla b'Sorin. If I go ahead and I claim Chitin and he admits to Sorin, Potter. Ultimately, again, he's Potter. For Rabbi Gamliel Mechayiv, Rabbi say, Rabbi Gamliel is an interesting one. Rabbi Gamliel holds that you do not need a hodah miminat taino. Rabbi Gamliel holds that the admission need not be related to the claim. This is Rabbi Gamliel's shita. Rabbi Gamliel holds that would be a case of modeh mikzas. That if I claim chitin and Reuven admits sorin, the fact that he's admitting that he owes me something is enough to trigger a shvuah, even though what he is admitting is not what I'm claiming. That's the shita of Rabbi Gamliel. To which the Gemara says, so ultimately, the reason why he's potter is because I claim chitin and he admitted sorin. But yet what? If at the end of the day I claimed chitin and sorin and Reuven admitted one of them, he would be chayv shuas modeh mikzas. So what do you see from here? That's like the position of Shmuel. Lo. It's possible not. According to the place Rabbi said that even if I claim chitin and sorin and he admitted one of them, he would still be potter. And the only reason Rabbi said why this Bryce according to the case as it did was to show us the strength of Rabbi Gamliel's position, namely that according to Rabbi Gamliel, even if I claim chitin and Reuven admits sorin, Rabbi Gamliel still holds that is a Shevuos modeh b'mikzas. Tashma. So we're trying to figure out whether or not Shmuel's position is correct. So again, remember, Shmuel's position is, I claim against Reuven. Reuven, you owe me chitin and sorin. And Reuven goes ahead and says, what? I owe you chitin, but he denies this. Both say that is called a Shevuos modeh b'mikzas according to Shmuel. We're trying to support or argue on that position. Tashma. Tanu kelim v'karkos, or blobe kelim karkos. Well, let's listen to this. I claim against Reuven kelim and karkos, utensils and land. Reuven admits the kelim, but he denies the karka, or bekarkos for kafar bekelim, or he goes ahead and he admits the karka, but he denies the kelim. I will say in this case, pater, ultimately, pater on Shevuah, amud beis, hodeh b'mikzas karkos, but I will say if he goes ahead and he partially admits that he owes me some of the karka, pater. I will say ultimately again, that's pater. Why? Because there's no Shevuah on karka. B'mikzas kelim chayiv. But I will say if he admits part of the kelim claim, then he's chayiv. Taima, the kelim, the karka. I will say the reason ultimately, again, in this case, when I deny the kelim, right, that I'm going to be potter is because this is a case of karka. The karka lav ba shvuai, because it was like karka is not subject to a shvua. Ha kelim v'kelim, dumya the kelim v'karka. I was chayv, but I will say if it was a case of kelim v'kelim, right? I was claiming different kinds of kelim, and Reuven admitted some of the kelim that would trigger a shvuas modeh b'miktos, to which the Gemara says not necessarily. Hu adin dafilu kelim v'kelim nami potter. It's possible that according to this brayso, I will say even if he claimed multiple types of kelim and Reuven admitted to one type of kelim, that he would still be potter shvuas modeh b'miktos. I v'hadik tani kelim v'karkos. So why does the brayso bring up the case of kelim v'karkos? Kamash malon dechi hoda b'miktas kelim chayiv af ala karkos. We'll say comes to teach you that what Rabbi was saying, that when you admit part of the kelim claim, right, at the end of the day, if I'm modeh b'miktas b'kelim, which I will say everybody agrees, if you're modeh b'miktas b'kelim, you're going to be chayv b'shvuah. What's the chiddush over here? That we can force you to swear even on karka, right? Even on karka. Mike Kamash on Rabbi say, so what's the lesson? Zokikin. The Rabbi say, now the chiddush over here that the Gemara is suggesting is the concept of zokikin. What's zokikin, Rabbi say? Zokikin says as follows, that when you have a situation, Rabbi say, which would not normally generate the chi of shvuah, once you're swearing on A, so let's say you could normally B wouldn't generate an obligation of a shvuah. But once you're swearing for A, so what happens? We could devolve the shvuah upon B as well. That's called zokikin. So we'll say, where does this come up? There can never be a chiyuv to swear on karka. Karka doesn't generate the shvuah. But if you have a claim that includes both metaltalin and karka, then what? Once I'm swearing on the metaltalin, I could be chayiv to swear on the karka as well. That's the lesson to which the Gemara says, but what's the chiddush? Tanina, zokikin es anachasim sheish l'nachrayis, l'shava alein. But we already learned this before. We learned in a different Mishnah that ultimately, again, once you're taking a shvuah, we could go ahead and literally roll that shvuah onto things that themselves would not normally be subject to shvuah. So again, we learned this before, to which the Gemara says, here's the difference. I'm sorry. Zokikin es hanachazim sheish nachrayis l'shav alein ha'ikar hahi agav grara naspa. So the Gemara says, you're right. But when it taught it over there, and Rabbi said the over there goes over here in Bab Metzia and in Kiddushin, Rabbi said this topic was not a primary discussion. This principle was just brought in what we call agav grara. Agav grara means it was kind of just rolled in the midst of other discussions. Here in our Mishnah, it is the primary discussion. So just see we're holding right now. We're trying to prove the position of Shmuel. Shmuel says that if I claim against Reuven Chitin and Seorin, and Reuven admits Chitin, but denies Seorin, that is called a Shevuos, that is called modeh b'miktas, and you should be chayiv b'shvuah. We're trying to go ahead and support Shmuel's assertion by bringing these different braisos, but so far the Gemara is effectively saying that none of these braisos prove Shmuel's points. We're going to keep trying. Rabbi Chia bar Abba Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Chia Abba says in Rabbi Yochanan, Toch tanu chitin usorin. If I claim against Reuven chitin and Seorin, v'hodin lo ba'achas mehen, and Reuven admits one of them. So I say you owe me chitin and Seorin, and Reuven says I agree, I owe you chita. What's the halacha? Potter. Rabbi Chia says in the name of Rabbi Yochanan that ultimately again it's potter. That's not called the modeh b'miktas. But 1 second. V'amar Rabbi Yitzchak Yasher. Right, so we'll say 1 second, but we saw before that these other opinions said that Rabbi Chia's statement is incorrect, that Shmuel was correct, that in the case of Tanu Chitin is Unabosai, and again I claim against Reuven Chitin and Soren, and he agrees or he admits to one of them. What's the halacha? He's Chayv Shmuel the Miktas, to which the Gemara says, Amorai Ninu. So I'll leave with Rabbi Yochanan. But I'll say ultimately again, we have a machlokis amoraim, what the position of Rabbi Yochanan is. Does Rabbi Yochanan hold like Shmuel or not hold like Shmuel? We'll say that effectively is a machlokis amoraim. Okay? Tashma. So let's listen to this next case. Tanu chitin. Tanu chitin. We'll say another case. Another brayso. I claim chitin. We'll say this is different than the previous cases. I claim chita. Reuven, you owe me wheat. And Reuven admits that he owes me barley. Potter. So we'll say again, Potter. Why are you Potter? Because we'll say this effectively is a kol for bakol. Tomorrow's daf will discuss kol for bakol, one who denies complete liability. Well, what's happening over here is he is admitting that he owes me something that I did not claim. And therefore, again, it's pater from a shura. Rabbi Gamliel says, no, you're chayv. I will say, now understand, Rabbi Gamliel's shita is an outlier. Rabbi Gamliel is the one who holds that the hodah need not be mimin hatayna. He holds that the admission need not mirror the claim. Essentially, Rabbi Gamliel says, if I claim, Reuven, you owe me wheat, all we need in order to trigger a Shevuos motive makes us supposed to say is what? According to Rabbi Gamliel, what do you need? Any kind of admission. As long as Reuven admits that he owes me something, even if the something that he admits he owes me is not what I am claiming that he owes me, is enough to trigger a Shevuos motive mikzos. To which the Gemara says, Taima, let's leave Rabbi Gamliel on the side for now. So we'll say, but the Tanakama says, the Rabbanon say, that if I claim wheat and Reuven admits barley, that does not trigger a Shevuos motive mikzos. So Taima, the Tanuchit and Vod Labasa'orin, ultimately the reason why Reuven is pater is because I claimed wheat and he admitted to barley. Hachitin usa'orin, but if I claimed both wheat and barley, v'hodelo be'echad mehen, and Reuven admitted that he owed me one of them, what will be the halacha? Rabbi say chayiv. They'll be chayiv shvua. So we'll say this supports whose position? Rabbi say whose position? Shmuel. Good. You better give Moshe a big thank you. We're about to start again, right? Good. So again, Shmuel. Remember, this is also again. There's not a lot to remember over here. Three things you have to remember. Coffee's over there, the Danishes are over there, and Shmuel says that if you claim chitin and sa'orin and admit to one of those things, that's called moed mixes. So we'll say it's all you need to remember this morning. So now we'll say, so understand, so the Gemara says over here, we're trying to infer from this case that what? That if I claim against Reuven, you owe me chitin and sa'orin, and Reuven admits to one of those things, that is called Shevuos moed mikzos. To which the Gemara says, maybe not. Hu adin dafilu chitin u'saranami pater. Maybe not. You can't necessarily prove that from this brisa. Maybe Rabbi said the halacha is that even if I claim chitin and sa'orin, and Reuven admits to one of those, maybe he's still pater. That's not called moed mikzos. So why does the brisa write it in this particular way? Lo di'acha kochel Rabbi Gamliel. They will say to teach me the strength of Rabbi Gamliel's position, because the strength of Rabbi Gamliel's position, Rabbi say, is what? That Rabbi Gamliel holds that even in a case where I claim chitin and sa'orin, and what? Reuven goes ahead and admits. Let's say differently. Even in the case where I claim chitin and Reuven admits sa'orim, even though it's clear that the hodah does not mirror the taina at all, Rabbi Gamliel still holds that you're chayav Shevuos moed mikzos. Tashma. So we're still going by there. Tanu kelim the karkos. So this is kind of a repeat of what we said before. If I claim against Reuven, you owe me kelim and karkos. You owe me utensils, movable property, and karka. V'hoda bekelim, v'kafir bekarkos. And Reuven admits the kelim. Right? Ultimately, again, he admits the fact that he owes me the utensils, but he denies the karka. Or bikarka v'kafar bekelim, or he goes ahead and he admits that he owes me the karka, but he denies the kelim. Pater. I will say ultimately again there is no chiyuv shvua here. However, hodeh b'miktzas karka pater. Similarly, I will say if he's a modeh b'miktzas by the karka, ultimately again he will be pater as well. Because I will say, remember again, there's no shvua on karka. However, b'miktzas kelim chayiv. Rabbi say once he admits that he owes some of the kelim, then what Rabbi say? Then what? Then ultimately he will be chayiv. That's a case of moed b'miktzas. Now watch this. Taima the kelim the karkos the karka lav bashvuahi. Now Rabbi say, and the reason ultimately again why this case is set up in this way is because it's kelim and karka doesn't give a shua. Therefore Rabbi say again, remember denial of karka does not trigger a shvua. Ha kelim v'kelim dumya the kelim v'karkos chayiv. Rabbi say, if I were to claim against Reuven different types of kelim, and ultimately again he were to admit certain types while denying other types, then what? That would be a Shevuos moed mikzos and would trigger. That would be a case of moed mikzos and would trigger a shun. Rabbi said, why is it important for us? Because this seems to support Shmuel's assertion that what? That if I claim chitin and sa'orin, and what? Reuven admits chita while denying sa'ora, that's what Rabbi said. That's moed mikzos and it should trigger a Shavua. To which the Gemara says, maybe not. Maybe can't bring a proof for this case. I'll tell you why. Because it's possible that even in this case, if you claimed kelim and kelim, he would still be pater. V'hakamash shmalan. The hode b'miktsas kelim chayiv af ala karkos. Rabbi say maybe the novelty over here is not in a case of kelim v'kelim. The novelty over here, Rabbi say, is that what? That when I am mode b'miktsas kelim and I'm chayiv to now take a shvuah on kelim, Rabbi say, what else do I take a shvuah on? The karka. Chayiv af ala karkos. My kamashon, Rabbi says, therefore, what is the Brisa teaching me? Zokikin. Rabbi say the Brisa is teaching the principle of zokin. Rabbi say zokikin means that what? That once I'm chayiv to go in and take a shvuah on the kelim, or once I'm modeh b'miktsas kelim, because also remember again one of shach. If I admit that I owe the kelim, so I have to pay back the kelim. If I deny that I owe the kelim, that's called the kofar bakol. And in the case of where you deny a claim in its entirety, you're not chayiv b'shur, as we'll discuss in tomorrow's daf. The chiddush over here is that when I modeh b'miktsas kelim, when I go ahead and I partially admit the claim to the utensils, I will say, what does that do? It generates my obligation to take a shvuah on the utensils, and once I have to take a shvuah on the utensils, then what? We could devolve that shvuah upon the karka as well. And I will say, and that's the chiddush. But why is that the chiddush? Tanina, we already learned that before. That's the Gemara said before. We learned this before in Bab Metzia, and we learned this before in Kiddushin. Why does the Mishnah over here have to teach me this halacha as well? We already learned it once. Zokikin etzanachasim shlishan achrayis lishava aleim. We already learned about, I will say, the principle. That's what? That once you have to take a shvuah on movable property, we can force you to take a shvuah on real property as well. To which the Gemara says, you're right. Ha'ikar hahi agav grara naspa. We'll say in reality, in the previous cases, in the previous Gemara, Sabab Metzi and Kiddushin, the Gemara was just mentioning this tangentially. It was not the real place for this discussion. But Dafka here, I will say in Shevuos, this is the real place for this discussion. That's why we Dafka go out of our way to make this point here. Rabbi Abba bar Mama Rabbi Chia bar Abba. So Rabbi Abba bar Mama raised the kash to Rabbi Chia bar Abba. Ta'anu shor v'hold lo b'seh. Let's listen to this case. I claim Ruvain, you owe me a shar. You owe me a shar. And Ruvain says, I owe you a seh. Or seh v'hold lo b'shar. Or what happens? I say, Ruvain, you owe me a seh. Ruvain admits that he owes me a shar. I say, what's the halacha? Pater. However, ta'ano b'shor v'seh. But if I claim, Ruvain, you owe me a shar and a seh. V'hold lo be'echem chayiv. And I will say, what happens? And Ruvain admits that he owes me one of them. He's chayiv. So I will say, so again, there seems to support to Shmuel. Some of the Hamani, what says, whose opinion is this? No. This is Rabbi Gamliel. This is Rabbi Gamliel. Both say. Now, what does Rabbi Gamliel say? Rabbi Gamliel is the one who says what Rabbi say, that any admission, the admission need not mirror the claim. That as long as Reuven is admitting something, that will trigger a Shevuos mode that makes us. 1 second. Rabbi Gamliel, afilu reisha nami. But 1 second, no. We'll say Rabbi Gamliel would even agree, Rabbi Gamliel would even hold your chav in the first case. So we'll say, what's the first case? The first case is, I say, Reuven, you owe me a shar. And what does Reuven say? What does Reuven say? Oh, you got it? Right? What does Reuven, okay. Right, what does Reuven say? Reuven says, I only owe you a seh. Now we'll see, even Rabbi Gamliel would say, even in that case, you're chayiv v'shomod b'miktsas. So I don't need the case where I say, I'm chayiv, Reuven, you're chayiv to me a shor and a seh. And Reuven says, I'm chayiv to you a seh. That's Rabbi Gamliel. Rabbi Gamliel says, even in the case I'm only being tiny, where I'm only tinying one, and he admits to me another, I'm chayiv. To which the Gemara says, you're right. Ela hamani. We'll say, whose opinion does this reflect? Admon he. We'll say, this is the position of Admon. Right? V'lo dechui matchinu lecha. And don't think that I'm just pushing you off by giving you this answer. Ela Talmud Aruch b'fish Rabbi Yochanan hamani Admon. We'll say rather again, Rabbi Yochanan always used to taina. Whose position is this? This is the position of Admon. Rabbi say, what does Admon hold? Look at Rashi for just a moment. It's Rashi like a few lines down where you see where the Hagos Habachis. It's a few lines down from there. Admon he the boy hodami min ataina. We'll say Admon is of the opinion. He argues on Rabbi Gamliel, and Admon holds that the admission must in some way mirror the claim. Umiu, however, Admon holds, Heicha detanu shnayim hodlo be'echel mehem chayiv. But I will say Admon holds that if I'm claiming against Reuven 2 things, and Reuven admits one of those things, that satisfies the criteria of the admission mirroring the claim. So I will say, therefore, again, it would appear that Shmuel ultimately holds like Admon. Amar Ravanan Amar Shmuel. So we'll say, so Ravanan says the name of Shmuel. So we'll say, so again, we'll do that halacha in just a moment. Ravanan says the name of Shmuel. We'll say the following. So actually, going to do it right now. So we'll say, so first of all, we paskin like Shmuel. And therefore, again, the Rambam says, the Shulchan Aruch also says, halacha lemaisa. in a case where I claim against Reuven, you owe me, Chitin and Seorin, and Reuven admits, I owe you Seorin, Abosai, that is a case of Modeh B'Miktsas. And therefore, again, Reuven will have to take a Shvuah about the remaining item. That's number one. We do, however, again, we don't pass like Rabbi Gamliel. In other words, therefore, Abosai, we hold that in order for a Shvuas Modeh B'Miktsas to be triggered, the Hodah must mirror the Taina in some way, right? The Hodah must, so therefore, again, the admission must mirror the claim in some way. So therefore, if the admission has nothing to do with the claim, there is no Shvuah B'Miktsas. So therefore, we hold like Shmuel like that, and also like Admon against Rabbi Gamliel. I will say, just in the other, actually, we'll do the rest, and we'll go back to the original Machlokes Rav and Shmuel. So the Gemara goes weiter. Amar Rav Anan Amar Shmuel. Tanu Chitin. So listen to this case. This is very interesting. I claim Reuven, you owe me Chitin. Now, what I was going to say was, you owe me Chitin and Seorin. But before I got a chance to mention Seorin, we'll say what happens. Vahodelo b'Seorin. So we'll say, I claim, I say, Reuven, you owe me Chitin, and Reuven say, I owe you Seorin. So we'll say, I was about to claim Seor as well. I didn't get a chance to do it. So we'll say, now the shaila is, what do we do over here? Because what did we just say? We just said that in order to trigger Shvuas Modeh B'Miktsas, what has to happen? What has to happen? So ultimately, again, the Hodah, the admission has to mirror the claim in some way. So over here, what ends up happening is, Reuven makes his admission before I got out the full claim. So right now, where we're standing right now is, I claimed wheat, and he admitted Soren. Shabbos say in a classic case, or in a classic sense, would not trigger a Shvuas Modeh B'Miktsas, but yet my intention was to what? To also include Sa'ar, which Shabbos says we just said would be the halacha, psak halacha like Shmuel, like we paskin. And again, if I claim Chitin and Sa'ar and Reuven admits to one of those, that would trigger Shvuas Modeh B'Miktsas. But he jumped the gun, and he admitted ultimately again before I got to Sa'ar now. It's a great case. So what do I do with this? So listen to this. The Gemara says it depends. Im kimarim chayiv. We'll say this is amazing. So if we see that Reuven is being a little bit crafty, right, that he's being tricky, and then it's clear that what did he do? He's manipulating the halacha, meaning he knows I'm about to go ahead and claim Chitin and Seorim, and he jumps in to go ahead and admit Seorim before I get a chance to say. It's im kimarim, both side means, look at Rashi, im kimarim, im mirla based in shekafatz lahodos, kadesh lo yitanenu zesorim v'yischayv lo shua b'aldas Seorim, chayv lo shvua. So both side, if Bezdin sees that Reuven is being tricky, now or being crafty, they're both saying, now obviously this would totally be up to the discretion of Bezdin. So if Bezdin somehow sees, whether they know Reuven beforehand or whether they just see in just the circumstances, if they see a little bit of shiftiness, of craftiness, of a little bit of trickery, then Bezdin could force him to take a Shvuas Modeh B'Miktsas. Im miskavein potter. Rabbi said at the end of the day, however, if Lamaisa they just see that Reuven was acting in good faith, and Reuven just, somebody made a claim against him, and he was quick to answer the claim and say, no, I only owe you Seorim, then what? Then Potter. Then he'll be Potter from the Shevuah. And that indeed is the way the Rambam paskins as well. So again, essentially, this is going to be one of these cases that's going to be left to the discretion of Bezdin. If Bezdin sees that Reuven was acting in good faith, then Einachinami. He's Potter from a Shua. This is not Modeh B'Miktsas, because I'm claiming Chitin, he admitted Seorin, even though, again, I'm about to go ahead and claim Seorin as well. At the end of the day, he kind of cut me off. As long as he's acting in good faith, no Shvuah. If he's being tricky, and if Bezdin is able to assess that he's tricky, then again, we will look at what my claim was going to be, which was a claim of Chitin and Seorin. He admitted Seorin. So we paskin like Shmuel. If I claim Chitin and Seorin and he admits to one of those, that triggers the Shmuel. That triggers Shvuas Modeh B'Miktsas. Get too excited about this. I tell you, Shevuos is exciting. Listen to this. Next case. I claim two needles. This is not a metaphor. Mamish, two needles. Right? Two little needles. So what happens? Man, and Reuven says, no, I only have one of your needles. Chayiv. So that triggers a Shevuos Modeh B'Miktsas. Now what's the chiddush over here? The chiddush is that needles are inexpensive, right? Needles are inexpensive. So it's clear that. All right. So I should tell you now the previous halakha before we get to this. The Rambam paskins as follows. The Rambam says, let me just read this to you. The Rambam says in Hilchos Toin, Perek Gimel, halacha Aleph. So listen to this. Ein Modeh B'Miktsas Chay Shua Min HaTorah, Ad Shiyodeh B'Pruta O Yaser, V'yichbar b'shtei ma'in kesef o yeser. I will say, effectively, we paskin like Rav in the Machlokes Rav and Shmuel. That I am only chayav shua modeh miktas. I will say, if the claim that I am denying is worth at least 2 kesef, 2 silver coins. Right? Now again, shvua modeh miktas is only triggered. I have to admit something. So I have to admit that I owe at least a pruta, but I'm only chayiv if I deny a claim that is worth at least 2 silver coins. So okay, however, so now the Gemara is suggesting, now back to our case in the Gemara. So now we pass in like Rav. The denial has to be for a claim at least worth 2 silver coins, but the admission has to be at least a pruta. Now what the Gemara is suggesting is the following. That's only true when you're denying money. But when you're denying kalim, Rabbosai, the kalim need not have a value of 2 silver coins. That's why, again, if I go ahead and Reuven says, I say to Reuven, you owe me 2 needles. And Reuven says, no, I only owe you 1. Chayiv. Lefichach, yotzu kalim lemashen. Therefore, Rabbosai, the pasuk goes out of its way to specify kalim by the shomod b'miktas to tell you, Rabbosai, that the denial of any kalim will go ahead and trigger a modeh b'miktas, shuas modeh b'miktas, even if it's not worth 2 silver coins. So we'll say this is an incredible idea. When it comes to a monetary claim, a financial claim, literally a claim again for money, there has to be the claim itself. The denial must be for a claim that is worth at least 2 silver coins and the emission for at least a pruta. But when you are denying utensils, Rabbosai, then it's any amount. Obviously, it has to be worth at least a pruta, because less than a pruta, Rabbosai, is not a halachically valid claim. But as long as it's worth more than a pruta, ultimately, again, the denial even of a utensil worth a little bit more than a pruta, ultimately will trigger a shuas modeh b'miktzas. Amar Rav Papa, Tanu kelim v'pruta v'holda b'kelim v'kafar pruta. Listen to this case. I claim Reuven, you owe me kelim, you owe me utensils and the pruta. And what happens? Reuven admits the utensils, but he denies the pruta. Potter. Ultimately, again, he is potter. He is potter. Hode b'pruta v'kafar b'kelim. But Rabbi say ultimately, again, if he admits the pruta, but he denies the kelim. So Rabbi say, so again, I'm claiming against him utensils and a pruta. He admits the kelim and he denies the pruta, or he admits the pruta and he denies the kelim. Chayiv. Ultimately, again, Rabbi say he will be chayiv. Chad kirav v'chadish kishmol. Rabbi say this halacha incorporates both elements of Rav's position and Shmuel's position. Chad kirav. So both it incorporates elements of Rav's statement, namely that in order for Shua Modeh Miktas to go ahead and be triggered, the value of the claim must be at least shtei kasef. And also this incorporates an element of Shmuel Shitin, namely that what? That if I claim against Ruvain, Chitin and Seorin, and I admit one of those things, that triggers a Shevuos Modeh Miktas. Therefore, Rabbi, in this case over here, where I claim against him a Pruta and Kalim, I claim against him pruta and Kalim, even though he's only admitting to one of them, that triggers a Shevuos Modeh Miktas. So halacha l'maisa, we emerge today with the following halachas. Number one, we paskin like Rav in the Machlokes Rav and Shmuel Lamates Amud Beis, namely that in order ultimately again for a Shuas Modeh Miktas to be triggered by a financial claim, the denial must be for a claim that is worth at least 2 silver coins, with the admission being for at least a pruta. That's number one. The exception to that rule, Rabbi is where the claim is just for kelim. When it comes to kelim, Rabbi as long as the kli is worth at least a pruta, then lemais again that could trigger a shuas modeh b'miktzas. Number two, we paskin like Shmuel, which tells me what Rabbi that in the case of where I claim chitin and saorin, and Reuven admits to one of those things, that what's the halacha, Rabbi? That is a shuas modeh b'miktzas. And number three, we paskin against Rabbi Gamliel like Admo, namely that in order for a Shuas Modeh Miktas to be triggered, what has to happen, Rabbi? The admission must mirror some element of the claim. But if the admission itself does not mirror any part of the claim, that is not called Shuas Modeh Miktas, and ultimately, again, there's no Chiyuv Shua. We'll stop over here for today.